There are so many social needs in our communities and around the world, really, that capture our attention. And it may seem simple to help others in need. Creating and sustaining, though, a nonprofit organization is not always that easy. There is a lot to learn and much work to be done in order for these organizations to be successful. Here were some special tips for entrepreneurs building these nonprofits. Is entrepreneur and author of the book You Can Still Win, Andre Taylor. Andre, thanks for being with us on this Friday.
Good morning, Dan. Great to see you.
Good to see you as well, sir. Okay, so what is the key role, then, of the founder for a nonprofit?
Well, the founder of a nonprofit is typically excited about addressing a societal need. And that passion and that drive and that interest is usually what results in creating a nonprofit. A nonprofit is really a special organization that is created to do good. So it doesn't really exist necessarily to benefit a person, but to serve the needs of society. And often we see them in arts and culture and environment and humanitarian issues and in animal welfare, a wide range of different society concerns.
Well, that's just it, and you're talking about a wide range, and a lot of people probably have these grandiose ideas that they're going to save the world. So how do you narrow it down? How do you define exactly what you want your mission to be?
Well, the mission, Dan, is perhaps the most important thing for a nonprofit. You have to have a mission that really resonates with the community. It's really something that you can actually achieve. There also has to be a clear gap between what is being done now versus what could be done to address that need. So the mission must be something that you're excited about, that you have a way of addressing. You have to be clear on who you're going to help, and you must have a plan on how to actually do that.
And you've mentioned excited and passion now a couple times. I mean, that seems to really kind of be the underlying backbone to really make a successful nonprofit, is that you really have to be dedicated to the cause.
You absolutely must be dedicated. A nonprofit is not an organization that's designed just to create a great brand. It's not an organization that issues stock and dividends and so forth. It's an organization that really is there to do good. It has special requirements. It has special ways of being organized. In fact, if a nonprofit goes out of business, the assets of the nonprofit actually have to go to another nonprofit. So it's a particularly different kind of organization, and it takes a different kind of person to run that and to grow it.
Which sort of leads us into what kind of legal and regulatory concerns then do you have to address when you're forming a nonprofit?
Well, when you're forming a nonprofit, you really need to get some good advice from an accountant and from a lawyer who can really guide you along the process. You have to be sure that the mission that you've chosen is something that actually is acceptable to authorities as qualifying for tax-exempt status. A nonprofit doesn't pay taxes, but the funds that go through the nonprofit really must be used specifically to achieve the mission. So you have to be absolutely sure that you're fulfilling in those requirements, that you're lawful before you get going.
Okay, so I've got my plan, I've got my mission defined, everything's legal. But now I've got to attract volunteers. I've got to get staff members. I've got to get board members. How do I go about doing that?
Well, any kind of personnel that's involved in a nonprofit is really, it isn't something to be taken lightly. Nonprofits really depend on having the right people involved. And it's like any other business, there's a challenge in finding the right people. You need volunteers, as you mentioned, you need board members, you need great staff members, and each of those roles are very, very specific. For example, if you're a board member, you're going to be looked at to be involved in making some tough decisions. You're going to be involved in guiding the mission and direction of the organization, recruiting other board members, raising money, in addition to contributing yourself. So you have to really look for people who are passionate about the cause, who understand it, and who are committed to it just like you are as the founder. Raising
money, obviously, which helps obviously keep the organization going. What kind of tips then do you have for people to increase their fundraising?
Well, fundraising is quite competitive. In fact, since 9/11, it has been very competitive for nonprofits. The key to remember in terms of fundraising is that it's about building relationships. You have to get out there, you have to to market yourself. You have to, and yes, market. A nonprofit has to market itself. It has to be out there talking about its cause, getting people to understand that you're actually satisfying those needs, and you have to build those relationships. And over time, people will begin to see what you do. They'll begin to see how you play a role in society, and they'll be much more attracted to supporting you. But it's a process that really requires a lot of asking, a lot of service, and a lot of savvy marketing to make it happen.
A lot of structure going into this. Any nonprofits out there that you think have followed these types of guidelines or that are great examples of what you've talked about?
Oh, there's so many great nonprofits out there. We could go through them. I mean, the people like UNICEF, the ASPCA is a great nonprofit. Junior Achievement for entrepreneurship. There's so many out there that are doing great jobs. I think the real key is that over time, these organizations really figure out the best way to get people to understand their mission, to understand their unique role. And what you'll find is a lot of people will look at that organization and find that they are the organization that they really want to contribute to. United Way is a great example of that. There are people out there who support United Way, Mothers Against Drug Driving, because they're really passionate about that individual cause.
All very big causes. Small business expert, author of the book You Can Still Win, Andre Taylor. Andre, thanks so much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dan.